To support this podcast, go to positivesarcasm.com/donate. Any amount is appreciated. Once again, positivesarcasm.com/donate. Thank you and enjoy the program.
Bored housewives, so they're generally hitting the Moscato too because they need something sweet in their lives because their husband is sour. That ring on your finger? Some pygmy died digging that out of a hole for you to say I do and ruin some guy's like, look at that dude. He's got a hernia that's shaped like a bag of pretzels that he just ate. You're going to Thailand, you're going to smash some dude. Going over there for guy time, but it's not with his buddies. What does it say on the bottle? Well, if it says that on the bottle, why did you put it on your head? All these actors did was shut their mouths because they didn't want to be run out of Hollywood. Now a bad batch of Chinese food has you blowing insurance premiums on vitamin fucking D.
Too much.
That's what we're
I
going
sound like
for
Bill
here.
Maher. Really, John?
Really?
We can't do this anymore, auntie. I'll see you at the bar mitzvah. It's almost like it never existed, but it fucking did. So do me a favor. Go yourself.
Jay here, positivesarcasm.com, recorded here from the Spare Parts Studio. Happy Sunday, everybody. Hey, you know what? Hold on. Is that jazz that we're listening to? Yeah. Crushed Velvet. Cherry Noir. Molly. Thank you. Good night. Tip your waitress. And your mistress. So, anyways, you can find me on social medias. You can go ahead and email me directly. Trying something different. Maybe a little background musical. Turn this shit show into a C+. But you can email me directly, positivesarcasm@outlook.com. You can also just go through my website. You can go to positivesarcasm.com. You can click on the contact page and be like, hey, it's me. I need this. And I'll be like, well, okay. But in the meantime, you can go there. You could support this entire platform by not having to go to Patreon. You can just go directly to my website, positivesarcasm.com/donate. You can donate $1. You can donate $1 million. You can donate all your dollars. I'd appreciate it either way. Thank you so much for listening, watching, and subscribing as much as you do. Also, check out my other YouTube channels. If you want to see where it started from the very beginning, go to Positive Sarcasm on YouTube. Check out all that stuff. That's where it all started. That's where I first started shooting content. And then this thing came back. Hallelujah. And then, of course, my Positive Sarcasm reaction page, where I basically just freak out to some of my favorite metal tunes. And then people dive into detail in the comments about everything that maybe I don't know about, nor do I care. But I enjoy talking to you guys in the new channel, and welcome to the new subscribers on all the platforms. But in the meantime, we got to get to some articles, and then we got to get to some Cherry Noir, and we got to get to some jazz. It's like Peanuts. It's like the cartoon Peanuts and Starbucks. I wonder if I'll start doing this more. I kind of like it. It kind of keeps me... I don't know if it's gonna fuck up the rhythm at all. I don't know if it's gonna work or not, but we're gonna try it. We're gonna try. I mean, I just came back from a weekend where, I had broken gear. I didn't know if my Lincoln was gonna make it back. I was emotional. I was in Lake Ossipee. First of all, I didn't know Ossipee, New Hampshire had a lake. Apparently they do. And apparently it's quite a nice lake. So, Lake Ossipee, which is in Ossipee, has something called DocFest. It started in 2020 because everything was closed. So they're like, fuck it, let's just open up all our docks and have a blast. And basically have a giant town block party. So all the rich people from Massachusetts opened up their blocks, opened up their docks, and started, playing music and bouncing from house to house and really just having a grand old time. Great idea. Nothing says community like a block party that takes up the entire town. So this year they found a nonprofit cause through Hero Pups, which, obviously, common sense prevails. And they decide to sell some t-shirts, raise some awareness, and then, hey, let's bring some puppies, some idiot photographer, That's me. And, make a day out of it. Let's make a day out of that. So we went up there. First thing I got there, there's first of all, there's 15 different friggin', docking locations. There's Pine River, there's a private one, there's this one and that one. So, after that, I parked my car. I got in, and then I took a quick ride with some cougar, a real estate agent, and then we jumped into the HP van, and we went to these meet and greets where all these people just wanted to give and wanted to show support and wanted to see the puppies, and I just stood there and took pictures. Now, since I have anxiety about leaving my dog behind, who is, well, not fully trained, he's just my best friend, I brought him along. And that can be tough because he's not one of those, he's a lovable dog, but he's timid in front of people. And if people ambush him, he's like, what the fuck? What was that? And then, that scares people, and that's not a good thing to do when you're trying to, donate to a righteous cause. So, but, obviously, if he got a little out of line, I just put him, I hit him in the back and finished doing my job. But it was, for me to actually go back and actually have to do these events, even if I'm contributing in some small way, regardless of, we'll just pull that aside, to just be there, regardless of if I'm even helping or not, just to be in the presence of that, in these people that I call friends and I call, colleagues or whatever, to be there with my dog and just witness all of it, it made me, I was already having a tough week per se because, full transparency, it's not easy for me still. I still got a lot of stuff that I'm trying to figure out, and it's been a traumatic year, more traumatic than last year. Last year was like, all right, cool, I'm gonna plan shit out. This year's been very traumatic. This year has been I'm still shaky, and I can't have really too much go wrong, and plenty has. So, and I don't talk to a lot of people about how I'm doing really, or what I'm doing. I don't talk to any behavioral health specialists or, my family. I keep it pretty simple per se. My family knows everything. They know the horror story, and you guys do obviously as well. There's some things I legally can't get into, but there's plenty there for a conversation. But just to be actually talking about it some more now that I have a lot of stuff that I have to get done, and I got a short period of time to do it in. And to be there just witnessing, and then to have the creator of the nonprofit come talk to me, and she's talking to me. She obviously has a lot on her plate, but to come talk to me, she sees me as somebody who is very fragile. And she's right. I am very fragile right now. And she was talking to me, and then she just she struck that chord. I really got emotional, like I am right now. There's like a glass wall there right now, and it's just like if you break through it, I just become a mushy shell of myself. And I was just talking to her about Chase and everything, and she started talking, and I just got really rough. I got really emotional, and it's tough. I'm still going through that, and everything has to go right now because everything else has gone so wrong. Everything has to be planned out, and I have to basically treat this situation like I'm George Washington escaping the British at Yorktown. I believe it was Yorktown. And she caught me in a moment, and I kind of almost broke down. And for the rest of the day, I was kind of there, and trying to take pictures and, be attentive and make sure I was there, for my dog, my friend, and trying to figure things out from there. And sometimes when people ask me about stuff, how's everything going, I know the easy answer is to be like, great, no problems whatsoever, everything's awesome, just swimmingly. But they know It's so easy for people to know that I'm full of shit if I say that. How's things going? Doing the best I can, and that's kind of where a lot of times it's where it's left. But they know that when I cherish some things so much, and right now I'm very fragile at this state right now with everything, and I've got a lot on my plate, and trying to have some fun with it. And I came to the realization that with everything going on right now, I can't, with the exception of the desk work, such as the podcast or video editing for a client or audio editing for a client or the music reactions. I can't really risk shooting any traveling content for the remainder of this year. It's not in the cards because, number one, I don't know what's going to happen with this whole thing that's going on with, this variant bullshit. That's number one. Number two, I can't, financially, it's not a smart decision. I need to get situated first. Get situated, get my rock and my foundation, and my time is far less than it used to be. I don't have that real time to just sit down and just edit. I have my moments, but I have to really pick them now. So I can't just go out there and shoot willy-nilly, depending upon the content or the location. It's just not. It's of no value to me unless I deem it valuable or monetarily valuable. It's not just, it could be some good content. Yeah, it could also be a giant pile of shit, and I just wasted my whole fucking day. And, my car overheated, and my dog's been, hasn't seen me all day, and that's just, no. It's just flat out no. And that's not going to happen. Not happening. I broke my gear. I broke some of my gear. I have this nice Rode microphone that goes on top of my Sony Alpha. Not my Sony Alpha, excuse me, Sony AX. And the fucking thing broke again. So it's like, all right, well, I got to fix that. I have to fix it. Because it's a nice microphone. I'm not going to replace it. I'm just going to fix it. It's like, all right, I gotta regroup here because I'm obviously not in a steady state. If my brain is not in a steady state, I can't produce the kind of content that I want to produce. I know the podcast has been kind of shaky since its resurrection after the exclusive I did, but I'm still trying, and I'm still trying to find a happy medium where I'm in a situation where I'm safe, my friend is safe, the roof over my head is solidified. And I know what's going to happen week to week. And when my brain is calm like that, my ideas start to flow. And then my alpha brain kicks in, and my alpha brain kicks in, the supplement I take, and then things start to click. And then I get into a rhythm, and then that rhythm becomes really good. And then that's when good content. But I don't have that right now. So I remember back when I had... I was really good at writing blogs and stuff, and I had an environment where I would just sit down, listen to some Pandora, sip some tea, and I would just start writing. I could do that. There was nothing in my brain that said something is wrong. Everything felt right. So I just went. For it. I did everything. I just sat there, nothing was going on, and stuff was going on. I just didn't know it at the time, and I was writing. And things were working, and I did that for a long time. I wrote 80-something articles. I wrote about 70. The other 14 came over a long period of time from different viewpoints of my life. And then, so what I'm getting at is I'm not in a position to shoot that primary content, that juicy shit where, I'm out with the drones are out flying. And my camera angles are new and fresh and in the mix with the people and the stuff, and I can't do that right now. I mean, all I care about right now is just getting situated and my best friend. That's it. When I know he's safe in a good location and everything is set up the way it should be, then we'll consider it. But I can't take those risks right now. It's not worth it to me. It's not worth it, and it's not fair to me. It's not fair to the consumers that I'm working with, and it's not fair to him either. So that's not going to happen. but I will get situated. I'm working on it. So those are some opening thoughts to blend with this jazzy music here. This fucking soda is delicious. In case you didn't notice, it's not soda, it's Franny's. This is black cherry noir. This is one of my favorite ones to drink. Vitamins, antioxidants, energy, zero sugar, no calories, aspartame free. A little bit of caffeine, green tea extract, but it's got, you drink the entire bottle, it's 15 calories, and it's got no sugars in it, and no carbs. So, no sugar and no carbs. So, it was a good time at Lake Ossipee. Basically just a bunch of people in boats, just going from dock to dock, listening to different bands perform. It was insane. Like, the amount of people that were there, just having a good old time. Made me think a little differently about people from Massachusetts. It's like, okay, all right, I see what you're doing here. I mean, I get it, you're terrible drivers. You're kind of annoying to talk to. But for the most part, you do keep the properties up north in the campgrounds in business. You keep them flowing with cash, and you support that local structure. So I guess I'm not going to complain too much. I do feel bad for the guy who came from Massachusetts all the way up to with it. Came all the way from Mass with his boat, and then gets to the marina, and his fucking boat doesn't start. And then his high-priced girlfriend is just sitting there in the passenger seat like, this is bullshit. I knew I should have dated Raymond instead. And then like 2 hours later, as we're heading back, we see that boat just driving off on the trailer. And it's like, oh man, talk about looking like a dick. So I felt bad. But we took a long, slow drive up north and just chilled out for the evening. And then I came back after going to a showing and checking on a couple things and sending some emails and scanning some documents. But I did have some news. I don't know how much this is being covered, but I originally thought, well, eventually this is going to be one of our states, or one of our cities, but this is ridiculous. I'm going to shut off this freaking music for a quick second, and I'm going to switch over to this. This was on fucking CNBC, courtesy of Sky News Australia, who just got booted off of YouTube for like a week because they violated some policies about some shit. But, yeah, this is South Africa right now.
There was no room on the road which wraps itself around the port of Durban. It had been turned into a thoroughfare for raiders and thieves as they ransacked warehouses and distribution centers located close to the shipping terminal. The young and the old took advantage, with people on foot, joined by those in pickup trucks who'd come to steal in bulk. And the police and the country's military, well, they were nowhere to be seen.
Why are people doing this? Why are people doing it?
The train tracks
What do you mean?
were used
You know
as
why,
a form
stupid.
of escape
Because South
by
Africa's a
those
goddamn
lugging
shithole.
stolen goods, although many tried to avoid our camera.
Hungry, we are hungry.
You're hungry.
Yeah, no joke.
It was a sentiment expressed by many.
Why are people looting?
No food, no nothing, no work, he says.
But you can't eat a bicycle.
I can, he responded. The trouble was triggered by the arrest of the former president, Jacob Zuma, last week. But it has been fueled by frustration.
This looks like a giant humanitarian crisis, one of many, and one that we're probably not going to do anything about. One that we really can't do anything about. But it's just people on the train tracks, people on the sidewalks, people all over the streets. Everything that can be looted will be looted. And I don't blame the people either.
In a country where millions are struggling in the midst of the pandemic. The authorities have made nearly 2,000 arrests nationwide, but they are not in control.
Oh, great.
On the River Horse Industrial Estate, a police unit fired tear gas and rubber bullets in an attempt to clear the park. The police are outnumbered and bewildered, and some are growing angry. As they race to another call, we saw one officer firing his weapon at people on the roadside at point-blank range. Roadblocks have been erected to intercept the looters, but they will not stop this disorder, for the authorities lack basic resources, while millions of people cannot meet their basic needs. In a crisis that threatens South Africa, ordinary people have chosen to steal, and the implications seem unmanageable. John Sparks, Sky News in Durban.
Hey, and
Shut up. So how are you going to stop that? Huh? How are you going to lock that down? I don't think you can. I think it's just that's whatever it is. You got a bad government, you got a bad system, you got bad policies, bad ideals, and it's like at the end of the day the people suffer. And it's a sad situation. But what's funny is when I first saw it, I was like, you know what? I could totally see that being Venice Beach, California. Not too far from now, not too long from now, that could look like Venice. I mean, I saw some video of a all-out fist fight in the middle of Venice Beach, and I was like, only in California. And then I remember there was a giant gang brawl in our own Hampton Beach. And it's like, oh, great. Well, our police are not really equipped to deal with that kind of bullshit. So that's taking place everywhere. So it's disturbing. It's like, people are trying to enjoy their time on the beach, trying to make sense of their lives after what 2020 has brought to us. And this stuff is erupting. I could totally see that happening in California if it isn't already happening. I mean, the LA freeways have been blocked multiple times for riots over numerous occasions. And those riots were, I guess you'd call them super spreaders, not that I really care, but those were triggering moments, and it's only going to get worse. I mean, obviously, South Africa is as bad as it can get, minus short of a full-blown civil war. But that's essentially what comes next. Once the looting of the resources has been completed, and there's no more resources left to loot, portable resources, then it becomes a conflict within the people, and then the people join certain sides, and that's how you get a civil war. Now, can that happen here in the United States? Well, it would take longer because we have so many different states. Now, we also have states that are pretty self-sufficient, but there are certain places where if the stuff runs low, generally if a state, can a state have its own civil war? I guess it could. The question is, which state would that be? I'm not sure. It would be a state that would have a lot of city people versus a state that had a lot of city people and a lot of rural people, I guess. Because obviously, once the looting in the city is complete and there's nothing left to steal, well, they're going to start to move to the outskirts of the city because there's nothing left there. They're going to start going into suburban areas and rural areas. It's going to keep going. And then eventually that picket line is going to be created. And that's how the state's going to be at a battle with itself. Because they're going to bring in the National Guard, and then it's going to turn into a shit show from there, and it's going to be like a Mexican standoff. The people who are starving in the city versus the people who are farming in the country and just trying to protect their homes versus the National Guard who's coming in trying to keep peace. And then it just turns into this giant, triangle of shit. Now, if there's a national food shortage, which is pretty possible, it wouldn't take much. A national food shortage could cause a civil war. It just basically be the hogging of resources. Once the hogging of resources has been centralized, then it's on. That's exactly what happens. And it depends on who controls it. Now, in most cases, it's the government versus the people, and that's not really a civil war. Although, if you have two governments, it is a civil war. So you'd have to form another government, which isn't going to happen. It basically, a government versus people would be that's tyrannical warfare. That's essentially the worst case scenario, because in a civil war you have two governments. You can have in our civil war we had two governments. So even if one doesn't survive, you still have one government. In tyrannical warfare, or in an authoritarian war, if you only got one, or authoritarian civil war, if you've got one government and your war is essentially against that government, then you have a failed state. And that's scary, especially if there's a national food shortage, and then there's like this whole pandemic stuff, and people against neighbor against neighbor. Although, from what I saw, that's all news stuff. That's all TikTok clips and Instagram reels. This is stuff that is not manufactured, but exploited. And social media does a great job of doing that. And it only makes people want to stay indoors longer and continue to order shit off of Amazon. Something they don't need to do at all. I'll be perfectly honest with you. I don't like staying indoors. I do like to travel. I do like to hang out with people, which I did this weekend. I didn't see anything about different ideals or political stuff. It was just people from Massachusetts that we as New Hampshire people like to complain about. And they look at us as like rednecks, which we kind of are. But we just were people having a good time, doing good things, and just enjoying ourselves, and none of the other stuff came up. But social media exploits it when it goes wrong, and then we choose sides over it. Now, where was I going with that? Oh yeah, actually, you know what? Let me get the music back here. There we go. Jazzy Civil War. But I'm wondering how this is going to turn out. Oh, the Amazon thing. People want to stay indoors longer, so they order from Amazon. They order from Domino's. It only gives them more power. You don't actually... But if you go out and explore a little more and you do things on your own, you go shopping at Hannaford's or whatever, or Publix if you're living in Florida, or what is it, H-E-B if you're in Texas. Shout out to H-E-B. Then you create that competition. And then you're out and about, and you meet people, and you see new products, and you try new samples, and you see new stores, and, you're out there adventuring. But just staying indoors and having Amazon delivered to you, number one, you don't need to be doing that. There is zero reason, in my opinion, for Amazon to exist. It really is. What, a Kindle? Kindles are useless. Amazon Prime? What, you can't wait 3 or 4 days for your fucking order to show up? You can't go to the grocery store and get it? You understand there are other stores doing this now, like Target and Walmart. And most of this shit that you overspend for on Amazon, you can find on eBay, or Walmart.com, or Target.com, or insertwhatever.com. You can find them in other places. You don't have to shop on Amazon. A lot of the stuff I find on Amazon is overpriced. It's overpriced. And it's a lot of Chinese products that actually do take a long time to get here. Where at least with eBay, you can filter it down to... What I like with eBay is when I buy stuff, I specifically pick American wholesalers. So I know it's not going to take too long to get here. But I don't need to shop at Whole Foods. I don't do anything with Amazon Kindle. I get... The most important thing that Amazon actually has, which is of value, is their AWS. The AWS is the Amazon Web Services. That's their little cloud that allows domains and a lot of programming and storage and a lot of your web-based stuff to work. Like a lot of websites rely on AWS, rely heavily on it. So that's the one thing that they have. But there are other companies that do that have web services like AWS. It's just that AWS is big. So that's my biggest concern is them just having a complete monopoly on the market. Like, You don't need to shop at Whole Foods. There is zero value in shopping at Whole Foods. Don't lie to yourself. There's no reason to go to Whole Foods. There's no reason to shop on Amazon. There's no reason to have a Kindle. There's no reason to have an Alexa. Definitely zero reason to have an Alexa. So I'm literally eliminating almost every single reason why you should use Amazon. Really. Because all you're doing is forcing their employees to work harder than they already do. And it's not like they get they get living wages, they get $15 an hour. They are fucking timed from the minute they wake up to the minute they go to bed to perform tasks. It's impossible. I've heard the shit stories of them having to use, pee in a bag or whatever, and having to, the time it takes to deliver a product, assemble it, and then be on their way. It's horrifying. And you're not getting some kind of, it's not like golden, when you work for Amazon, it's not golden handcuffs. It's just handcuffs. It's like, yeah, you work there, but you've got no time to research other things. You've got no time to yourself. You just work there. You work there until you're fired. And look, $15 an hour is not going to get you far. Right now, with the prices of stuff, $15 an hour is not going to get you anywhere. So living wage doesn't mean what it means. It's bullshit. Total. If the cost of things was down considerably, then you could have a living wage. It's just a matter of how you decide to live. But $15 is not going to get you that. It's not. So, I don't support it. I would prefer to support other platforms and other websites and other grocery stores. I want to keep that competition fresh. Because I have to preach it. I have to. It's important. I don't want to have Whole Foods as my only fucking choice. I don't want eBay being bought by Amazon. I want to have my stuff delivered by UPS or USPS. I want that to be a thing. I want there to always be some options. Because when there isn't, i.e. Comcast, then there's a serious problem. Then it's like, well, we own everything. We don't have to work as hard. And we don't have to, and we can charge as much as we want. They don't like it, they can disconnect and be without. Like, the internet is a utility. I think social media should be a utility, because even though it's a private company, they're manipulating public platform. So I absolutely think they should be a utility. Because that's the thing. If it's in the Constitution, it's a utility. You have to utilize it in order to get through daily life. That's a utility. So, with all that stuff I just unpacked, imagine if a state such as South Africa, well, not imagine California or Texas or Florida or New York, which a couple of those are start breaking down, and they start looking like South Africa. How long does it take until those states break down, and then other states start to break down alongside of them? Because people aren't just going to leave. They're not just selling their houses and leaving. They're gonna flee. They're gonna fucking flee. That's what a lot of people did in California and New York. They didn't just leave. They borderline fled. They threw their houses up on the market and they took off. And some people still can't sell their houses. Don't get me wrong, there are some places in California, beautiful areas that are basically untouched, except by wildfires, that you can still sell your house for a ton of money. But there are other places, like in the valley or in certain areas, that they are touched. They have a severe homeless problem. And it's not getting any better. It's actually getting worse. So, what are they going to do? Give them a one-way bus ticket out of town? Where are these people going to go? Well, they end up coming to places like here. They end up going to Texas. They end up going to Florida. They end up going to Idaho. They end up going to Georgia or South Carolina, North Carolina. Now, I'm not going to say they don't go there and not fuck up the place they just moved to, but it can happen, and it's a likelihood. I mean, people from Massachusetts moved here and blew our fucking housing market through the roof. Through the roof. So, and I'm probably going to be like this for a while. I mean, don't get me wrong, prices have pretty much halted at this point. Like they've stopped. Like housing prices in New Hampshire have basically flatlined. They plateaued, excuse me. So they're going to sit right here. Unless something else pushes them higher. Like, for example, another lockdown. That would push them even higher. Because people at final would be like, fuck this, I'm done. Because some states are worse than others. And they'd end up coming here. And then they drive prices up even more. And it would only make it harder for us. But what I think is, yeah, because they came here and they bought up everything. And it makes it difficult. But we're not going to go. Do we have to leave, or where are we going to go? Where do those people who live in that state that's being overrun with runaways from California, where do we go? Do we go to California? No, we don't go there. We would never go there. I've been to plenty of spots in California. I'm all set. Don't get me wrong, I like my oceans, but I like my Atlantic Ocean. And that's kind of my thing. That's kind of my goal. But it does concern me greatly in a couple years what's going to take place, and I mean, obviously right now, like I was stating earlier, the housing prices have plateaued. They have plateaued. There are still other houses hitting the market, but it's getting closer to back to school time. People have to get settled in, so they have to buy their houses now, close, and get settled in so that school can start. And it's getting closer to winter time, so there's going to be fewer and fewer houses going up. And the houses that are up already and have been up for a long time, you're gonna have some significant price cuts. Even though they're not really price cuts, it's more like, marking up something, a point and a half and then dropping it a half a point. But you're gonna start seeing that, and you might start seeing some deals. And if we go into the winter time relatively unscathed, you may see some opportunities and kind of a calming down of the if the sales market, if the housing market calms down, then the rental market will calm down too. Okay? Because the rental market right now is abysmal. Absolutely fucking abysmal. The only thing I saw that I liked personally was a little studio right on the ocean. That was it. That was the only thing I liked. The only problem is they didn't have parking for 2 cars. Oh yeah, and no pets. That's another bullshit thing. I get it. Pets can be awful, but you have to understand, a lot of people in the world, except for China, have fucking pets. They have pets, and a lot of these rental places are like, now they're in a position to be like, no pets. It's like, what? So now all of a sudden you're gonna have no pet, like maybe a cat? Cats stink. Cats smell terrible. Dogs are far more, I don't know, sniffable than a cat. So it's like, I don't like that, this control of the market. First of all, you can't afford to live there. You can't afford to rent, and they're making all these tough stipulations on a place that's really not even that's maybe worth $900 a month, and they're charging like $1,850. And holy shit, you're going back to college? They're pushing, like, the dorms are already overpacked, so they're forcing a lot of these kids, these returns or newbies, into friggin' these like shared apartment complexes just outside of the campus, and they're charging a fuck ton for these kids. And these aren't small colleges. This is like UNH. And the amount they're charging for tuition, and now these kids, on top of having to pay for their stupid ass overpriced tuition, now they're gonna fucking charge them for rental fees, like $1,000 a head. How are you gonna pay for condoms? How are you gonna pay for birth control? I don't know why I thought of that. How are you gonna pay for anything? You can't afford shit. You think what? Mommy and daddy gonna pay for everything? That well dries up eventually. I have to admit, I have to break it to you. So, I would love for the renters to lose a little power. I would like for the housing market to calm down a bit, which it has. It's kind of come to a plateau. It's idling right now. I can foresee it coming down a little bit. But it'll only significantly come down once the once the interest rates go up. Once the interest rates go up, it's correlation. Basically, correlation equal causation. Interest rates go up, housing prices come down. So, like, every time it goes up like a half a point or a point, housing prices drop like 20 grand. Some even more. You know? So that is a strong possibility. But that has to happen first before anything else. Those interest rates have to go up. And I would think probably by the end of this year, you'll probably start to see them go up. And then prices will come down. And then the market will open up a bit. Maybe. Or it just all goes to shit. Because I have no fucking faith in this system right now. I don't trust anything anyone says. I think it's all bullshit. I think it's all skewed. I think we're in for a whirlwind of trouble. And the more people watch the news, and the more people listen to their fucking family, it's like, ugh, spare me. It's just panic. I can't afford that. So, those are my thoughts after this weekend. So, while we listen to some jazz, some nice sexy jazz, we should go ahead and finish up with some Q&A. By the way, guys, thank you all for the questions and the support and donations and everything like that. Please continue the train. If you're into music reactions, I just started my new channel. Go there. If you're into music reactions, Positive Sarcasm Reactions on YouTube. If you just want to listen to me shoot my mouth off for like an hour, just check out the podcast, Positive Sarcasm Podcast. And if you want to see some of my more original content, you can go to Positive Sarcasm and on YouTube and check out some of that stuff. There's some good stuff there. It's all categorized too. So, in the meantime, let's get to some Dig Q&A, and then we will go ahead and close up shop on this beautiful Sunday afternoon. Once again, positivesarcasm.com/donate. All right, here we go. Should I tell my son and stepson that my husband and I suspect they're sleeping together? My husband and I are at a crossroads about how to confront our sons about a discovery we made while visiting their flat. They are stepbrothers, technically. Note the word, quote, technically. My husband and I are both widowers who met and bonded at a support group for single parents surviving after cancer. My son was 10 when I met my husband and 12 when we married. My stepson is 9 months younger, so they are very close in age. After a somewhat rocky start, both boys were grieving and trying to adjust to a new family norm. They became the best of friends, inseparable from about age 13. They even took the same classes together in high school so they could spend more time together, and made sure to go to the same university. My hubby and I went on to have 4 more kids, 3 girls and a boy, so lives got pretty hectic. Because our older sons were teenagers when our house became baby crazy, I admit my husband and I probably let the older 2 fend for themselves a bit more than usual. Let's see. Okay. They were both adults. Okay. Especially with 4 young kids in the house. Okay. They were both adults now, 25 and 26, living a state over. Sorry, just readjusting. And rent a flat together. We went to visit them once COVID restrictions had eased, and my husband accidentally walked into a room, oh boy, in the second bedroom, in a 2-bedroom flat. Thinking it was a bathroom, and discovered it was set up as an office. My husband's curiosity got the better of him, and he snuck around, discovering one king-sized bed, king-size, in the only other bedroom that contained both of their stuff. My husband is convinced they are sleeping together, which makes me feel sick. Yes, they are stepbrothers, but they have been raised together since they were 9 and 10. Should we confront the boys about it or act like we have no idea what is going on and hope for the best? Is it just a very close friendship they grow out of as they get older and meet women? Please give us some insight on how to handle this as I feel so lost. We have 4 other kids to think about as well. I'm not sure I want them exposed to what kind of unhealthy relationships if our worries are confirmed. Well, I don't think get older and meet women, well, they're gay. I mean, that's kind of obvious. They're into dudes. That's not an issue. The issue is actually they've been inseparable through trauma since the age of 9 and 10. That's an issue. And they are now in a relationship with each other, and they've known each other for 15 years. as brother and brother, stepbrother and stepbrother. That'd be weird. Imagine like a sequel to Step Brothers, and it's like a fucking softcore porn. It's like Step Brothers meets Brokeback Mountain. That's so you have to. I mean, obviously, if it's on your mind, you have to speak up. As far as them being gay, well, you're gonna have to accept that because that's pretty much the way that show's gonna roll. But they are technically brothers, and that has to be addressed. But you're kind of gonna just have to let it be because if you freak out about it, it's only gonna make the situation worse. And believe me, it's not the best situation. Let's be honest. I mean, technically brothers, but technically not. So it's not technically incest, I think, right? I don't know. I wouldn't do it. If the roles were reversed, I'd probably stay away from the situation. Support them for their lifestyle, but definitely talk to them about the arrangement. But don't beat it into them. Let's go on to the next Q&A. Do I need to continue going along with my sister's decision to hide our dad's death from her kid? 6 months ago, my dad passed away. My frustration is that my sister and her husband refused to tell their 6-year-old daughter. I understand that grief is very personal for everyone, but her decision to withhold his death is affecting my niece. My niece is not allowed inside our house, for fear she might ask about her grandpop. My young children are not allowed to speak about their grandpop in her presence. No memories, no references whatsoever. I have confronted my sister about my concerns, and she has told me that they'll parent the way they want to. I agree that they have the right, but it's been 6 months, and she's still telling my children they cannot talk about their grandfather in their cousin's presence. She has started to exclude us from family activities for fear that my children will mention his name or disclose her death to their cousin. My children are old enough to realize that is wrong. Our rift is growing at a rapid rate. I have spoken to my personal therapist, the hospice therapist, and my daughter's therapist. All three can't comprehend my sister's actions. I can't either. I mean, it obviously is a denial to, not be a parent. You're denying the ability to be a parent. You need to be a parent in this situation. A 6-year-old daughter can be tough trying to explain to them, but that's your job. That's your responsibility. That's your thing that you need to do as a responsible adult, as a responsible parent. Something bad has happened, and you need to approach it with them. They're not going to like it, but it's been 6 months. You should have fucking figured it out by now. As far as you and that rift, well, they don't want you around, basically, so just don't come around. And if they decide to break it to the 6-year-old, then great. But maybe the 6-year-old will be like, how come what's their faces don't come around anymore? How are you going to explain that? Huh? How are you going to explain that Grandpa's not around anymore, and now the other children are not around anymore? How come? Obviously, there's only so much shit you can cover up before the truth comes knocking down your door. So, for the meantime, just take care of your own family, and maybe the other situation will take care of itself. Or maybe it won't, but it's not your responsibility. How can I convince my husband, whom I financially supported for years, to help me pay for a dental procedure? My husband works in sales, and throughout our 25-year marriage, he has had several bouts of unemployment that usually last about 2 years. I've had a solid career with no gaps. We have been fortunate to have my steady income and family help during the periods he earns no income. A few months ago, he found a new job after yet another 2 years of not working. He makes more than I do now and gets a generous draw and bonuses for 6 months on top of his earnings. For the past 2 years, I have paid for everything, and given him money for activities he enjoys without complaint. Because of this, I've been unable to save for a very costly dental procedure that I desperately need. Now he has a lucrative job and with bonus income. I have asked that he replenish some of my savings or perhaps take on more bills so I can save. He refuses, stating that I should have been able to save money and pay all the bills. He hides all of his money in an account. Look, okay. All right. Even the whole, there's even something here about, money for his pot-smoking son, adult son. Look, you figure your own shit out. If your partner in crime covers for you, you need to repay the favor. That's black and white scenario, dude. Okay? If your husband was unemployed for long periods of time and you covered for his ass and now you want to get your fucking grill tightened up, guess what? He should be able to help you out. Especially if he's making considerable amounts of money right now. His job is to also help support you in some way, shape, or form. If you supported him, then he should support you. Absolutely. That's the end of the story. He should be helping you out with your dental procedure. If it was vice versa, then yeah, same goes in that direction. Let's move on to the next one. How can I make things normal after my office threw a surprise party to celebrate giving me unwanted accommodations for my disability? I'm a 24-year-old woman, and I've worked for 3 years with a firm right out of college. I was in a serious car accident in May 2020 and suffered a spinal injury. Ouch. Paraplegic, T12, and need a wheelchair. This transition has not been easy. No shit. But work has been amazing throughout. They sent gifts, including a remote event, gave me an easy timeline to start back working remote. When I got home, another nightmare, though, however. What? Working remote when I got home, another nightmare. Oh, apparently she wasn't a fan of that. However, I just want to get back to normal life and not lose the closest I have with my coworkers. Overrated. So back in March, the office opened back up for everyone to come back, and pretty much my whole team did. My manager requested that I remain remote, saying they were not uncontrolled. They were controlling numbers for social distancing and would be rotating around. It was finally my turn this past week. I showed up on Tuesday, and there was an enormous banner and ribbon cutting for a new wheelchair ramp at the front of the building. There was already one in the back. I had my own parking spot. The handicap sign turned into a cartoon of me. The idea was sweet, but I was incredibly caught off guard at the fanfare. Going inside, my desk has been moved away from my team, moved away from my team, which is in the back of the building through a maze of cubicles, but not impossible to get to. And now there's a whole pod cleared out for me next week. They had balloons and cake and everything. I lost it. I started crying and left. My boss made me come inside, and I told her how embarrassed and hurt I felt. I did say things I regret, such as them making a performance of me being singled out in a way for the way their actual work is. I called my mom to pick me up and put in for PTO for the rest of the last week. My manager was very clearly offended, as apparently they had to spend a bunch of facility money to renovate. I get the idea, and it was nice, but at no point did anyone tell me that they were throwing me a fucking cripple party and taking me away from my team. My manager is visibly annoyed and condescendingly walking on eggshells with me. I'm back to remote at my request. I have a new calendar invite for an HR meeting at their request. I'm pretty nervous about the HR meeting, and I'm worried I damaged my reputation and a place in our culture. I would like to just get back to normal with everyone, as it was a great place to work. What should I do? Well, they tried to do something for you that was kind. I mean, putting in a wheelchair ramp is not cheap. All right? That's money that could have been put into infrastructure or people's pockets or something like that. But that didn't happen. So instead, they spent it on you. I get it. Some of it was probably tasteless. Look, when you're working in a corporate environment, everything is fucking cheesy and tasteless. Okay, you understand that. If there's HR, then there you go. But you said some things that upset. You have to kind of like come to a road, be like, listen, this is some things that are cool with me. I want to come back here, but this is what I'm willing to do. And you'll make some accommodations and stuff like that. But the HR thing, yeah, that kind of is like that could be a nightmare. But you do have to be like, listen, I was obviously emotional. I got a little upset. I said some things that maybe I shouldn't have. That's my bad. I'd like to come back to work. There's a couple things that aren't, that we need to kind of adjust to. So can we make this work? Maybe you can. Maybe you can't. And if you are really that offended and things like that, and it just is never going to be back to any type of normal to you at that job, then you need to just leave. So, Well, let's go ahead and let's do. Let's see. I call them deer. Oh, okay. Why do so many women react negatively when I call them dear? I am a 50-year-old male. When I interact with a woman whose name I don't know, I address her as dear. Surprisingly, many of them respond in a negative way, regardless of age. Is it wrong to call someone dear? And if so, what should I call them if I don't know their name? I usually, me, because I'm younger, I go miss. Miss is easy because it's standard operating procedure. It's an accepted term based on biology, and it also is kind of a compliment for saying like that every woman you meet is a miss because they're young and they're single, so they're still out there being able to do the damn thing. But miss is just kind of like it's a way to approach. Ma'am is kind of the same thing, but it could also apply that it's more conservative, it's older. Some people actually get offended when you call them ma'am, because they'd be like, ma'am, I'm not fucking 80. So there's that. But dear is one of those things, I think it's like the next step. It's like once you go, dear is fine if you're like 80. Like I get called dear all the time. Excuse me, dear. But if I was to approach somebody, I would just start with miss. Miss is just works. It doesn't get you in trouble. Dear is after that. Dear is sparingly. You have to know number one, know your audience. And number two, it should come second. Dear is still fine though. In terms of endearment, dear is still perfectly fine. You know, it's a loving. It should be in a loving way. Like, thank you, dear. You know, thank you, doll. I appreciate. You know, it's kind of it's a little gooey. It's a little extra gooey, but it's still allowed. I just don't think you should be throwing it around like it's your number one go-to. Like calling your boss dude. You know, dude, you need me that raise or what? No, you start with sir or miss. You know, that's the way you should do it. Just know maybe you just don't know your audience. Not everybody does. But that's the one thing I would kind of focus on here. I wouldn't lead with dear. So that's all right, but you are 50. I get it, but what does it matter? You still know customs. But depending upon where you're from, what culture you grew up in, it's fine. You know, I get it. I'm not going to beat you over the head with it, but, you know, you're asking the question, so I'll give you an answer. Just start with miss, and then end with dear. You know, excuse me, miss? Thank you, dear. Or you can end with thank you, miss. If it stays professional. If it gets personal, then you can say dear. Right? Sure. Let's end on that. Anyways, you can find me on Instagram at @positive_sarcasm, Facebook, Evil Empire. You can go ahead, like, subscribe, share to all my YouTube platforms. You can also find this. Jolly little hour on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Podcast Addict, anywhere where podcasts are available. Download it, like, subscribe it. Of course, you can also download it and stream it directly from my website, positivesarcasm.com. So hit me up however you can. You can email me directly, posing music reactions, requests, accommodations, audio or video editing, positivesarcasm@outlook.com, or just contact me directly through my website. Support the platform, positivesarcasm.com/donate. Any amount is appreciated. You can also even hit me up through Venmo, for Christ's sakes, if you want. At Positive Sarcasm, by the way. Anyways, thank you for listening, watching, and subscribing, and I will talk to you all in the next episode. Recorded here from the Spare Parts Studio. This has been a Positive Sarcasm presentation.